Welcome everybody to our third scheduled Disrupted Festival of the Ideas, the Times They Are Changing session, which was actually supposed to be our second session. So thank you to all of you for your patience. We had to reschedule this one due to COVID. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we start. The toilets, in case you haven't discovered them, are just behind the first row of shelving here to your left. If you want to join in the conversation on Twitter, it's #disrupted21. And I'd just like to start by acknowledging that we're meeting tonight on Noongar Whadjuk Budja and pay my respects to elders past and present and the strength of their continuing culture. So Disrupted Festival of Ideas is now in its 8th year. It's the State Library's platform for the dissemination of creative ideas. It really reflects libraries across the world's charter to support disruptive ideas, challenging ideas, multiple perspectives, equitable access to everybody's perspectives and points of view, whether we agree with them or not. So welcome. If you are interested in following the program, you can go to our website. We're also live streaming tonight, so welcome to those audience who are joining us online. The live audience tonight get to ask questions at the end of the session, so online audience, please stay with us for the Q&A session. Just a reminder at the end when we're doing Q&A that we do have microphones and we have State Library staff here that'll be bringing the microphones around. So please wait until the microphone is given to you because we will be recording tonight. You might have noticed that we're also selling books down the end there. Boffins are joining us tonight. So if you'd like to buy a signed copy of Period Queen, please hang around afterwards because Lucy will be signing books. I'd also just want to, can we have the slide please? Thank you. The next slide. The next slide. And the next slide. Thank you. I just want to bring to your attention the fourth Disrupted session, which takes place on the 29th of June, and it's called System Failure, Health and Legal Systems for Trans and Gender Diverse People, and that's being delivered in partnership with Transfolk WA and the Centre for Stories. So please spread the word. As you might have noticed, going on the theme of change, we've adapted our programming this year to really give us a little bit more capacity to be flexible around COVID disruption. So we'd really encourage you to come along and spread the word to that session. The other thing I just wanted to bring to your attention before I introduce Lucy and Andrea, next slide, thank you, is on our Disrupted website. You can actually have your say. We've actually got a live survey up there and we'd really like you to join the conversation, join the curation of the program by telling us what kind of perspectives you'd like to hear, what stories you'd like us to share and what discussion you'd like to be involved in. So I'd like to now introduce Lucy Peach and Andrea Gibbs. Sorry, just finding my right page here. Who tonight are going to be talking about going with the flow, about periods. So Andrea Gibbs is the host of Weekends with Andrea Gibbs on ABC Digital Radio across Australia and the co-creator of Barefaced Stories, Australia's longest running storytelling night of its kind. And Lucy Peach is a stadium folk pop singer, songwriter from Fremantle and author with a parallel career in sexual health education. And tonight they're going to be talking about periods, so please join Lucy and Andrea as they tackle the taboo subject, explore the power of female hormones, the issue of period poverty, and possibly sing us a song or two. Thank you.
And it's really exciting to be in a library having this conversation and might swear, talk about periods. Really nice to be doing it with you, Andrea. I feel like we're in a TV show.
Let's do it.
Okay, yeah. So I want to start by singing a song called Be So Good. And I suppose anyone could probably talk for a really long time about some of the crap stuff around periods and all of the I don't mean that periods are crap, I mean the way periods have been treated. And to that end, I just want to sing this song as a sort of restorative love song to your womb. So you can, or your womb space. Even if you don't have a womb, you know, we all have feminine energy, and you can take this and put it wherever you like. I'm gonna sing you a song, little bit sweet but not too long. Song of hope and joy in equal measure. I'm gonna give you something that you can treasure. And if you want me to, I'll be so good to you. If you want me to, baby, because I'm gonna be so good. I'm gonna be so good to you. I'm gonna be so good. If you want me to, when the world gets in, I'll hold you. I'm gonna love you like I told you every night. I'm gonna be so good to you. You can plant the trees and I'll cut the flowers. We can lie together in long grass, watch the clouds for hours, and if time won't tell what you want it to, you should know I'll tell you true, baby, because I'm gonna be so good. I'm gonna be so good to you. I'm gonna be so good. And if you want me to, when the world gets in, I'll hold you. I'm gonna love you like I told you every night. I'm gonna be so good to you. And if I ever lose my way and I falter, would you be so good to me? Good to me. Be so so good to you. I'm gonna be so good. And if you want me to, when the world gets in, I'll hold you. I'm gonna love you like I told you every night. I'm gonna be so good to you. I'm gonna be so good to you. Will you be so good to me? That was your body asking that last question. Thank you.
Do you know, I play that song on my radio show quite a bit, and I have headphones on when I'm listening to it, but my producer through the glass is like, shut up, Andrea, because like when it's on, no one can hear me, but I'm just like shower singing like nobody's business.
I want to
it was just really nice.
see evidence of that.
Well, at the end, because we're going to do another song at the end.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so should we just crack on?
Yeah,
all right.
let's do it.
So, you can relax if you want. I don't feel like... I mean, what day are you again?
I'm 16, so I'm in a giving phase. I'm in a giving phase. Whatever you need, I'm going to give it to you.
So what we're going to do tonight, thank you, Andrea. What we're going to do tonight is run sort of through the cycle in the emotional landscape and some of the science stuff. And then we'll be doing a bit of a Q&A at the end, and you can ask questions as well. That's the rough outline, just so you know what to expect. Which way do I... Okay, I hadn't got it turned on. Now I do. Okay, right. I'm Lucy Peach. And yeah, I'm doing this because, look, I kind of discovered all of this stuff for myself when I was lucky enough to be working at SHQ. It used to be known as family planning, so I was a sexual health educator. Used to be a human biology teacher. And it totally changed the way I felt about myself and my body. And so I just kind of kept talking about it, and then I made this theatre show, and I've just been talking about it for the last 6 years. And all the slides that you see tonight, except for one of them that's a bit crap, are ones that my husband made, who's in the show with me, who does all the drawings. And this is something that we always just come back to, that, you know, we're getting smarter. We know we've got a compost. We know we can use solar power. We've got to start using what we've been born with, if we've been born with that, because it's there for a reason. So that's kind of just what puts the wind up me. And a lot of this is about hormones. And obviously, you know, there's a whole nature-nurture thing, and the stereotypes attached to periods and menstrual cycles, you could go on about that forever. But I think it's really interesting to just kind of come back to like the biology of what makes us feel certain ways. And obviously not all women have periods, and not everyone that has a period is a woman, and there are so many different kinds of periods, and what I'm kind of focusing on is I guess like a bog standard version, because we've only got an hour. But basically my hope is that in talking about that, then all the kinds of periods get to have more airtime, and then we can all share our stories and we can all talk about what's going on for us, because I think that's the real issue. Yeah. And basically, you know, when we're talking about hormones, we're talking about being born biologically female or male, and then how those hormones can affect how you feel. And so for a long time, the people with the male hormones have kind of been running all the shows. So wherever you have situations where people in power, often they have the male hormones. And the thing is that when you look at a biologically male cycle and a biologically female cycle, they're very different. And that's not, one isn't better or worse, they're all great. It's just that if we're all kind of squished into this default male setting, but we don't have that system, then you've got to kind of take parts off yourself, and you're too much and you're not enough. And does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. And so this is not the main thrust of what I'm talking about, but the male hormonal cycle is every day. So peak testosterone in the morning, which is allegedly when you're more motivated and better at getting things done, less inclined to want to collaborate perhaps, and then as the day goes down it sort of dips a bit. And I always say to people, like, if you need to have an argument with your dad or something, maybe do it in the nighttime. And then he goes to sleep, and that whole thing is replenished. Get up in the morning, start again. It's a new day, but kind of the same. And so it's, you know, if you want to get a bit cosmic, more like the sun. Whereas if you have biologically female cycle, you're more in line with the moon, which is pretty cool. Like, I'm sick and tired of apologising for being woo-woo. It's fucking cool that we're like the moon and they're like the sun. There, I said it, got it out of my system. Okay, great. So what we're running through tonight is these phases. And, you know, you can call them what you like. I call them a thing. I'll tell you what some other people call them. And really, it's it's just understanding that if you don't feel the same every single day, then this might be the reason why, and that possibly because of the way we've talked about periods for a long time, people can feel that it's a weakness or there's something wrong with you or you're too much or you're too little. But actually, if you know where you are, excuse me, then not only can you be not fighting to be the same every day, but better, you can actually use where you are for different things. Yeah, so how do you feel so far? Great, okay. Well then what we're going to do now is get into the interactive element of the evening. I'll just preface by saying this is based on a 28-day cycle. Not everyone has a 28-day cycle, obviously. Some people might have 26 or 27 or 31 or 33, and it's all kind of normal. It's normal to change, from month to month as well. And so I talked before about the hormonal drivers. So we've got progesterone, which is in the gold. So there's sort of not really much happening until after ovulation, and then it spikes. And then estrogen is in the, so exciting to have you there. Estrogen is in the red, and so there's two mountains of those, and then you get a little blip of testosterone just before ovulation. Okay, so I think we're just going to jump straight into it. Do you know what I mean? All right. So has anyone been to the Greatest Period show before? Oh, quite a lot. Okay. Well, I hope this isn't like covering old ground for you. Some people say they like hearing it again. I mean, it's great. I'm doing it. All right. So what we're going to do is actually give you a virtual embodied cycle. And no matter where you are on the graph or not on the graph, I just invite you to, participate in this and to just feel all the feelings and just have a little feeling time. So we're going to start with the dream phase. And I think what I'll do is I'll just sort of tell you the science, and then we'll get into the feeling. So basically, if you look at the dream phase, which is menstruation, hormonally, there's not a lot going on. And this is really the time to stop before you start. And, in the interest of looking at it through a more male-centric capitalist lens, you can say, well, if you had all this money and you were going to invest into this big project and you were going to get all this work done, you wouldn't just throw everything into it without having a little think about it and having some reflection time and actually taking stock. And that's what this is for. And it doesn't mean you need to spend 5 days, meditating or just not doing your life. But it's really about just kind of acknowledging that this is the window to check in with yourself. And, as you get more hormones throughout the month and you're busy and you're out in the world and feeling a bit more extroverted, there's more distractions. And at this time, when you're kind of made to just be a bit slower, it's a good time to use it and to really be there. What else can I tell you about that? I also call it the zero fucks phase, which I've just had put onto a tote bag, in case you want to just advertise that without words. So we'll just get into the feeling bit of it now, and
Well, I forgot to ask what day you are.
I'm day 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get to experience that a bit later on.
Yeah, we'll get to that. I'm definitely at the cusp. I'm also doing IVF, and so I'll ask you all to just say a little prayer for me at some point. Anyway, let's get on with it. All right. So I'll cue the sound for my first sound in about 10 seconds. Not yet. Okay. So welcome to your dream phase. Now, I'm going to ask you to make a fist. This is about how big a uterus is. And it gets bigger and it gets smaller. And this is like, even if you don't go on to have children, this is where we create. This is like where we learn to let go and hold on and move on, and this whole cycle happens here, not here. So in between your hips and then nice and low. And so it's a bit embarrassing, isn't it? It's like, how weird to just be talking about this, but not really. So I invite you to just put your hands on your womb space. And to close your eyes. Just have a nice little relax. You've all done a lot of things to get here tonight, and now we'll cue the relaxing music. Okay. So I just want to invite you to take a few really deep, slow breaths. The kind of ones that are like a special treat. And maybe you just want to use this little moment to reflect on the month that you've just had. What was it like? What are you still holding on to? What do you want to let go of? Is there anything that's bothering you or that's exciting you? And it's not to say, that you can't hold all of these things at the same time, but this is just a little precious moment. And so whatever came up for you then, just give your tummy a little rub and put it back in there and tell your body that you'll come back to it later. Now, is there anyone here tonight who is in the dream phase, somewhere between day 1 and day 5? Okay, keep your hands up. Just use this. And you can open your eyes if you want to. I know you've got your eyes closed, but if you want to keep them closed, you've got your period, you just keep them closed. Okay. So just put your hands up and just everyone have a little look around you. These people are doing the thing that has to be done to sustain life. So let's give them a round of applause. Okay, now my beautiful assistant, Andrea, who's on day 16, is ready to give you a hot water bottle. Now, there are only 6 or something, and so if you're day 1 or day 2, wave. Everyone else just put your hand up. Yeah, up the back. So you can't actually keep these hot water bottles, but my suggestion to the library was to have, instead of a prayer room, but have a menstrual room. That you could go and get a hot water bottle, have a beanbag, read a book. That's the future I'll be campaigning for if I get into Parliament. Two more. Did we got any? My personal ones. All right, so that's the dream phase. Really good time to nurture yourself, to check in with yourself, to do all the self-care, to do some reflecting. Okay, any questions so far on the dream phase? Okay, so then, and basically in the cycle, we've got 2 major events, menstruation and ovulation. And although menstruation gets all of the attention, it's really not the big deal here. It's ovulation, because that's what makes your hormones. And without ovulation, you wouldn't have any of this. And essentially what we're talking about is they're like seasons, So the dream phase is like winter, etc. And so, yeah, that was the dream phase. Thank you, Richard. So this is the do phase now. So now what's happening is estrogen is really peaking. Estrogen is a hormone that is what's known as anabolic, which means you can build more muscle, you can go faster, you can go stronger. And it's not to say that these phases mean there are only 4 feelings and, if you don't fit into these boxes, then there's something wrong with you. This is just a guide, it's a lens. But essentially, I was listening to something the other day that was talking about how just before you ovulate, you kind of have this superhuman moment where you organise the cupboards, you're really switched on, you're organising her, you're tessellating this, you're doing that, you're just everyone's talking really slowly. And this woman said, this is the time when, evolutionarily speaking, you're about to potentially make the most expensive energetic decision of your life. If you choose someone to partner with and have a child, this is when you're making the decision. So you're really like, you out, you in, get over there. Yep, you go, let's go now, go, okay. And that's, you know, sort of biologically speaking, what's kind of happening. So yeah, it's a very driven time, and I thought unless you are in the dream phase yourself right now, we could actually just like embody some of this. And yeah, I think you should stand up. I think you should stand up, and then you can cue the music, and we're just going to have a little jog. So just a little jog. This is your power phase, okay? And it's really important that you use this to be assertive, to lead, to be a boss, to be big and brave and strong, and to be out in the world doing the things that make you you. Because if you don't use this energy burst and you're just like, oh, my idea is not that good, oh, I'm being too bossy, oh, la la la, then that thing will fade. And then you have to wait till the next month. Okay.
This is the Jane Fonda phase.
That's it. Woo! All right. Now I'm looking for someone who's actually in week 2 and is like really proud of themselves for something that they did today or this week. I don't know what day you're in, but I feel like we're racing now. Okay, give yourself a round of applause. That was quite sustained. Who feels like they're in phase 2? You actually are. Do you want to come and tell us something that you're proud of that you...
No, I saw that and thought I should be feeling way better about this week. But I actually feel pretty tired, so I feel like I'm not...
And sometimes people say, but I'm meant to be having my superhuman week. I'm meant to be having my do week. What the fuck's going on? I'm exhausted. I don't care about anything. And the thing with the cycles and the phases is that each phase sets you up for the next one. And I'm not accusing you of not resting in your period. But it's like whatever you did the week before, you pay for it the week later. Particularly, it gets accrued when you're premenstrual, because if you push through your period, you'll keep paying and paying and paying, and then when you're premenstrual, everything is definitely worse. So if you're not feeling like you're getting energy in that second phase, experiment. Try giving yourself like as much time as you can to have a little rest, or get to bed earlier, or eat more nourishing food, or whatever it is that... Oh, see? And this is it. It's like, this is not another thing of you have to, you should, and all that kind of stuff. It's just, yeah, but that's the thing. It's never too late to give yourself a little dream phase day and to just rewind and have a reboot. Anyone else want to reflect on what's going on for them right now if they're between day 5/6 to 13 any time before pre-ovulation? You can't get it wrong. Like, there's no wrong answers. You can say whatever you want.
I was on the do phase and I got the flu and I felt really ripped off because I wanted to get stuff done.
Yeah.
And I was like, but this is my do time.
Yeah, this is not when I want to be sick. And it's really hard then, because you do feel like you want to move and you want to get things done. And I feel like that was quite a hard phase to be in during lockdown, because it was like, yeah, but I'm trying to like start a business and blah, blah, blah. I don't want to be making sourdough and, you know, planting carrots. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's lots that I can say about each phase, which is why I wrote a book about it, which is up the back. But basically, you know, you've done your dreaming, you're in the menstrual cave, you come out, it's ready to go and to get things done. This can be quite a sort of impatient time, because you just really need to do what you need to do. And so then what happens is, I call that the fucks for days phase. And then what happens is you get this peak in estrogen, you get a little shot of testosterone, and that pushes you into the next phase, which is the give phase, which is after ovulation. And you're still, you know, riding high on the ass-kicking energy of the do phase, but progesterone then comes into the fore. And, you know, the word progesterone is pro-gestate, so it's to sustain a pregnancy. And the thing that really kind of motivates me to get more involved in schools is that they still teach this stuff in a very reproductive, focused way. But really, you're going to have potentially 450 of these cycles, and you might only use that to reproduce, 1 or 2 or 3 or, 6 times, which isn't very much compared to all the other times. So the point is that you use all this energy for who you are and for the projects that you do and the collaborations that you have and your creative things and your relationships, and you can really kind of plug them in to this phase and use it to support yourself. And in the give phase, it's really about connecting with other people, because you've got progesterone. It's known as nature's feel-good hormone. This is a time where, you might want to schedule some collaborative projects. You want to really be reaching out to other people and connecting and nurturing the relationships that nurture you, because next week maybe you don't want to do that so much. And so, in this bit, we were actually, you talk for a minute. What were we going to do here? We were going to get you to speak to somebody else, and Andrea's put a little card on your chair. You might be sitting on it, and so this has got the graph on it, and so you can turn to somebody near you and you can either say where you are. If you don't know, then you can
give them a story.
Yep.
You can share with them a story perhaps about when you first learned about your period, which I always think is a great story starter. For me, and it's probably similar to a lot of people, is I always tell my mum a lot of things. I'm very open with her. And when I first got my period, I was really excited about it. And I went out to the lounge room and I was like, Mum, I've got my period. And she went, oh, no. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So,
which was obviously how she had felt about her own.
Yeah, but it just kind of speaks to the whole stigma and stuff and how it was a hassle. It was definitely not this. It was definitely not using it as a powerful tool, as something that I should work with now that I'm, getting older. So, yeah. So just perhaps share with the person next to you when you first learned about your period. Yeah. Give them a little story, or give them a little bit of yourself.
Yeah, it's great. Oh, yeah. Should we? Yeah, go for it.
All right, just finish up what you're telling your friend next to you. Did anyone learn something about the person next to them that they didn't already know? Friends or strangers? Does anyone want to share one of their stories?
I just want to share that Alice and I both had to check our Garmin exercise apps to see what phase of day we were in.
Yeah.
That's high-tech stuff. We're in the future.
Yeah. We're going to talk a little bit about ways you can track your period a bit later. Yeah. I'm the same though. I've got a little app. Yep.
So who thinks that they have, they're in the post-ovulatory spectrum there? Yeah. So it's up, wait, where are you again? Yeah. And does anyone want to share how they're feeling, or they've had a giving moment, or they actually don't feel like giving, or they gave to themselves, or... Yeah?
Like within 5 minutes
Okay.
before running to the show.
I think that would definitely put you in the next category. Yeah. Yeah. Carbs are important. This part of the cycle I call the fuck yes phase, because you are a little bit more inclined to just see the possibility in everything, and everything's possible, and yes, I'll do this, and yes, I'll do that, and you have this very inflated sense of your capacity to kind of commit to giving forever. And this is the part of the cycle that the world would like you to just be in permanently. And we're very rewarded for being in the middle two parts. And I feel like, yeah, some people feel like the do is, oh yeah, this is me. This is who I really am. I just need to be like this all the time. Oh. And then if you kind of really get stuck in the give phase, then by the time you roll around to being premenstrual, it's cactus time. So that urge to just put everything into everybody and feed and fuel is really good, but I think just knowing, like, you've got a tank. I hate coming back to a car analogy, but you've got to get to the end of the tank, and if you spend it all and you give everything away and you slide into being premenstrual on empty, then you'll just have a shit time. And okay, so that brings us, you were everything to everybody for just a moment in time, and then you weren't. Okay, call it the take phase, because it's about you taking what you need for yourself so you can do this whole thing again. And I meet people all the time who tell me about how amazing their male partners are. And like, oh yeah, he's got my cycle and his app, and he knows, and he makes me a cake, and he runs me a bath, and la la la. And actually, my cousin Sarah at the back, who you'll see if you go to the merch table, we were talking about this, and she was like, do you know what? It's actually bullshit, because then you kind of, I mean, yeah, it's nice to have a knight in shining armour, but if you rely on that to have your needs met, then it might happen or it might not. And it's, you know, it's like we have what we need. We can give ourselves what we need. I mean, not everyone can all the time, obviously. But if it is within your power to give yourself what you need, then certainly ask for it, or say to your partner, hey, listen, I'm day 26. I don't want to do X, Y, Z, and can you do blah, blah, blah? And they can respond or they can not respond. But being able to know where you are, communicate where you are, say what you need. And some people are like, oh, but I can't tell him, or we can't really talk about that stuff, and that makes me really sad, because I think if that person is with you, then they want all of you. And, you know, having a conversation that helps them to understand what it's like to be you, and you're awesome, then of course they would want that if they care about you. Otherwise, no. Yeah, obviously don't maybe like leave your relationship tonight if you're premenstrual, because I told you to. But also, you know, yeah, okay, so what we thought we'd do now, and this was actually Andrea's idea, and I really love it so much. So I feel like you should just drive this little bit.
The yelling bit?
Yeah, that's right. It's your turn to shine.
Okay. Sorry.
We basically just thought, you know what, getting angry is not really celebrated enough in women, and we really just want to, thank you, we want to like have a little moment where we can do that, and we're all going to be here to hold that anger.
And I was also very excited about doing it in a library, so we're going to get loud. And we've got this big window here, okay? So Tuesday night, there's not too many people down there, but what I want you to do, and you might have been thinking about it in that meditative phase that we did at the beginning, when you were reflecting on the month that you've had. What is one thing that has totally annoyed you this month? And it can be tiny, right? It can be a little bit of road rage, whatever. But I want you to come up with one phrase, all right? One phrase that you wish that you had yelled at that person, that you like, just, you're not monitoring yourself here, all right?
And should we just say, like, so hormonally what's going on here is, you know, you're coming down the mountain. You've done the doing. You've done the giving. You've got to take now so you can do this whole thing again. And this part of the cycle gets a lot of bad rap. Because, oh, I'm just premenstrual. Oh, she's premenstrual. The thing is, maybe you actually have been putting up with some crap all month long, and this is the time where your body goes, hey, big problem, you need to do something about it, and you just cannot tolerate crap. So it's a protective function.
Yeah. And this is a safe zone to yell in, all right? We're not going to hurt anyone apart from a bit of glass here, okay? We're all going to stand up and we're going to yell our phrase out at this cultural centre, okay?
No punching, no kicking, no eye gouging,
No,
just shouting
none
out
of
the
that.
window.
We can do it all together. We can jump up one at a time. What do you guys want to do? Do you want me to do a bit of my road rage at the window? Okay.
Yeah.
So I explained this. I was waiting to cross some really heavy traffic. Another guy was coming the other way and waiting for me, and he kept going, come on, you can do it.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done. How did that feel?
So good.
Yeah, good.
I'm definitely in the give it to him phase. So who wants to have a go? Let's do it. Come on. Anyone can get up and give it a go. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Fuck you! How very fucking dare you!
Woo! It was good. I felt that. I'm going to take a bit of that with me the next time I need to find some of that.
Someone's down there going, no, just kidding. Just kidding. We're pretty safe. We're pretty safe. Anyone else want to have a go?
There's actually two men going.
They can take it.
They can take it. Got thumbs up.
Is there anyone that's in this phase right now? Okay, all right. So maybe you could hear from a few of them, and we'll find the worst one.
Yeah. Okay. So, is there any? Can you tell us like something terrible that's happened?
So I'm really good at my job.
Hang on, what your name and what day you are, and then carry on.
I'm Michaela, I'm day 25.
Okay.
I recently got feedback from a male colleague that I emasculate the men I work with because I'm so good at my job. And I kind of think that might trump everyone, sorry.
Yeah.
I kind of think that takes the cake. And the fucks were very hard to restrain.
Yeah. Okay.
The rage.
So
I think just like, I'm good at my job. Are you blind? Or I don't know. Like, I'm good at what I do. I want you to yell it at that window, okay?
And should we all say it with her, just for moral support?
Yes. I'm good at my job.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm not apologising.
I'm good at my job and I'm not apologising. Okay, and then Andrew will count us in and we're all going to say that because I'm sure you're all good at your jobs too, but especially you.
1, 2, 3.
I'm good at my job and I'm not apologising.
Woo! Oh man, that feels good. Oh. Anyone else? Got a little story? Yep.
Hi, my name's Hayley. I think I'm like day 23, 24. I was supposed to be in Melbourne this weekend, so fuck COVID.
Yeah.
That's why I yelled out the window. I've been trying to see my sister since December, so all the heartstrings.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh.
That's all right. Do you know what? I reckon you should say I love you out the window to your sister because it doesn't have to be like an angry thing. Yeah, it can be a really heartfelt,
Yeah, we'll all say
I
it
love
with you.
What's her name? Lauren, all right, we got you back. You want to jump up? I love you, Lauren, all right? All of us together. 3, 2, 1.
I love you, Lauren!
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing. Yep. My ride or die, my best mate is stuck in Melbourne. She's been trying to come back a whole bunch. So, yeah, she's stuck there. So I feel your pain. Anyone else want to share a story? Something crap? We're doing like roadside pickup a bit, aren't we, here?
We are actually.
So
I've got a present for the premenstrual people because I wrote this album when I was premenstrual. This is when I first started using this. I used to dedicate like a day and a half to writing songs, and so that's for you. So your other story better be good if you want one.
Yeah. There you go. It's a good creative phase, right?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
New song just written. I love you, Lauren. Okay, write it down.
Cool. So I think that takes us to the end of the experiential phase. And obviously, you can still do whatever you want, whenever you want. You know, it's just that if you have a cycle, you can use this. All right. Should we have a
Q&A?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Lucy and I are going to have, I've got a few questions to ask her, but I want you guys to take some time now to think if you've got any questions for Lucy while you've got her here to pick her brain. Also, if we could just keep an eye on any social media questions that come through, give them to me. I guess my first question's going to be of what the last thing that you just said.
Yeah.
In terms of you can do anything in any phase, well, how do you go about planning your calendar around your phase? Do you actually go like, I'm not going to do a gig on this day?
If I'm planning it, then yeah, definitely. Like I wouldn't say no to a gig I really wanted to do just because I was premenstrual or I had my period. But if I was going to do something emotionally, energetically expensive, I would just book in a bit of scaffolding around that as well. Because if I'm day 29 and I've got to do a gig, then I'm not going to look after my sister's kids that day and take on all these other things. Do you know what I mean? So I just kind of scaffold. And then, I'm only, day 22, but I did the IVF thing. And so last night I was at a 70th surprise party and I started feeling a bit tired. But you know, when you leave a party and you've got to say goodbye to people and it takes you 45 minutes, and I was just like, I'm just going to go. And I think maybe if I was younger, it's probably an age thing as well, but I would have thought, oh no, I can't leave. I've got to say goodbye to every single person I've ever met because otherwise they'll think I'm horrible. And I was like, no, I think I'm just going to take care of myself. I'm just going to be like, bye. And then just go. So that's, yeah.
And does it help to talk to the people around you in your life? That's what you're doing. I mean, obviously your vocation is pretty obvious.
Yeah.
The people around you, but do you think that's important?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think if it's just a good lens for explaining to people what's going on with you, and we're so kind of conditioned to be like, how are you going? Yeah, good, great, busy, thanks, great. How are you? Good, busy, thanks. And then you don't, and this is just a great little window. And actually one of the slides that I was going to get to was just that, like, if you just ask these questions, where am I? What do I need? How can I use my power today? If you catch yourself feeling like, oh, I'm terrible today, or I'm useless, or I'm too much, or I'm not enough, and then just being like, oh, hang on a second. Oh, that's right, I'm day this. Maybe I need that. And then I can give myself that. And, whether you have a cycle or not, these are good questions to ask yourself. And I think it's just that whole thing of we're so addicted to rewarding being super productive and not seeing rest as productive and so on and so forth. So telling your partner or, your children, when I was finishing editing the book and I was in New Zealand with my boy, and I remember him saying to me, come down to the river with me, Mum. And I was like, no, I can't, I'm busy, and da-da-da. And he was like, Mum, I know you're day one. I think you're burning the candle at both ends. And I was like, oh, you're right.
Yeah.
But that conversation with your son has been pretty important since, I mean, to educate young people about menstruation and periods is super important, and sometimes it can catch you off guard when you have the opportunity to educate them.
Yeah.
And that's what happened with your son.
Yeah.
He kind of caught you off guard, didn't he? You want to tell that story?
Okay. So, so he was 2 years old when I was working in sexual health, and back then everyone was talking about, sex positivity. This was like 2007, and it was the first time I'd ever sort of heard of that approach to life. And so that really informed how I talked to him about everything, when he had questions and things. And sorry if you've heard this story 9 times, but I really love it. So I was in the toilet, and he happened to come in at the exact moment that I'd removed a tampon before I knew about reusable options. And my instinct was to just kind of push him out and just be like, "Get out, Ruben!" But I was just like, "Hello." And he kind of was like, and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I think I called it my moon blood or something." And I said, it's the little nest, it's losing the blood, and this is one of the ways that I catch it. And he was like, "Can I look at it?" And again, I wanted to be like, "Can you just get out? Like, I'm really in the middle of something here." But I was like, okay. Sex positive. And then he came in, and he came like right up to it, and he had like a look at it. But then he looked at me, and he like read my face, and then he said, "Is this gross?" And that was this moment where I thought, oh my goodness, whatever I say and whatever I put on my face now is what he's going to think about periods. So I was like, no, it's actually really cool. That nest, I have it every month, and then I let it go, and then I get another one. And if I want to, I can grow a person in there. And he was like, "Mum, that's so cool." I said, "I know. Now get out." So, and it's not like I talk about it all the time, or I'm doing artwork with my menstrual blood. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But just, it's a pretty low-key thing. It's just part of our vernacular, to be like, "I'm day 22, you do that, clean your..." He knows when not to leave towels on the floor and stuff like that. Anyway, I'll stop talking about him.
Yeah. You mentioned before, it would be great to have more spaces with the hot water bottles and things like that. Can you talk a little bit to the policies that you'd like to see in more organisations and who's doing it well?
Yeah, so there's different countries around the world that have introduced menstrual leave policies where, people who with periods get, like 1 day a month to just do what they need to do, paid. I have read and sort of seen that some of that is not taken up as readily because people don't want to be like, "Well, I'm not the one who needs a day off. I can soldier on." So there's a bit of that still to happen. But the Victoria Women's Trust in Victoria are doing a lot of amazing work around menstrual policy in the workplace. Also menopause policy, because that's the other part of the cycle, right? And, it's, I was listening to this thing on Radio National the other day about menopause and how for a lot of people that work in very male-dominated areas, I think banking and science or something was the examples given, they're not feeling safe to talk about what's going on for them. And so they have to, there's ageism, there's sexism, there's all these things. They don't want to be seen to be having anything that anyone can use against them. So they kind of internalise everything, which then obviously makes it feel worse and then they just retire early. So you've got this brain drain of people who don't feel comfortable to be where they are, even though they're experienced and, got all of these great things to offer. And, there's this amazing First Nations American proverb that I really, really love, and it says, "At her first bleeding, a woman meets her power. In her bleeding years, she's practicing it, so going through those cycles, and at menopause, she becomes it." And so we need to have things that better support people going through that in the workplace, because that's really important. And, it's just something that should be talked about. And so Victoria Women's Trust have a template that you can access on their website. And it's generally just, you have maybe some flexibility around working from home, which we all know we can do now. And a day, a month paid leave. And just to acknowledge that, there's all kinds of periods, and 1 in 8 to 10 people have endometriosis and are really, experiencing quite a load that lots of people don't have any idea about, that then is compounded because you can't talk about it. And it's just, we're all valuable wherever we are in this point in the cycle and have things to give, and it's,
If anyone's got a question, just pop your hand up and we'll get over to you guys in just a moment. I just want to touch on period poverty. Access to tampons. I mean, there are other countries that are doing it a lot better than Australia, aren't there?
Yeah.
Scotland, New Zealand.
Yep.
And access for girls in schools.
Yep.
Yep.
So it was only like 2 years ago that we stopped taxing tampons as a luxury item. Which now, because when it happened, do you remember how you felt when that happened? It was an 18-year campaign to get them to be not taxed. And it's like still quite fresh, we are quite behind. But I don't know if anyone noticed on May the 28th, which is Menstrual Hygiene Day.
Just the one day of the year, guys.
Just the one day of the year. The Greens announced a policy to make pads and tampons free in schools Australia-wide, which I think was going to cost $25 million. And so they're now, appealing to Scott Morrison and the other powers that be that's something that's, that's just a thing, So, we kind of could definitely get up to speed. And, obviously not everyone is experiencing poverty and needs to be getting free pads and tampons. But I think but a lot of people are, and we know that a lot of young people are missing school because they don't have what they need. And the knock-on effects are huge. If you're missing a couple of days here or there and you're not getting that key bit of information in maths or, and it just compounds that this is a thing that you have to pay for, which is just not fair.
Yeah, and I think it certainly would have helped, reflecting at my school, to have a tampon dispenser in the girls' bathroom would have opened up so much more conversation amongst us as well.
That's
it's
exactly
it's
right.
There, it's part of us, it's part of our world, and
and we're here to support that. And what might that do to young people in schools to just know that's something that's available to me. I don't have to be ashamed of it, or I don't have to, go without, and I can talk about it. And I think that's really exciting because so much has happened in the last 5 years to just kind of explode the conversations. So if we have that, I just think if we're all sitting here having this conversation in 5 years' time, like it better be good.
Yeah, it better be a good one. Questions? Yeah.
Hi. I was just wondering, I guess, looking to you guys as beacons of information, how does contraception, affect, I guess, because I look at that cycle, the graph, and it looks amazing.
Yep.
But I haven't had my period in 3-4 years.
Yep.
So do I not go through that cycle, and then I couldn't even find myself on any of that? I feel like I'm in the do phase 100%. I'm just, I don't know.
And that's a really important question. And the crux of the issue is that most hormonal contraception works by switching off ovulation. Not all of it, but most hormonal contraception works by switching off ovulation. So you're then having synthetic hormones that basically turn off your cycle. And there's two things that I want to say about that. And the first thing is that, in the 60 years or however long it's been since we've had the pill, it's not good enough that we haven't come up with better options that suit people better. Because, a lot of people will say that they have, symptoms and things, and, and they've trialled hormonal methods to give to men, but they didn't like them because they got headaches and they felt sad, and it's like, you wouldn't say to Ronaldo or whatever, oh, sorry, we're going to turn your testosterone off until you're ready to have a baby. oh, you've got no drive. Oh, you don't even feel like having sex. Oh, you got a headache. Oh, well, Allah, you'll be all right. Like, it's just like, it sucks. But then at the same time, being pregnant to somebody you don't want to be pregnant to is, I know which one I would choose and have chosen. So, and I'm not a doctor, so I don't want to be giving out any health advice, but there are some hormonal the Mirena, which is the hormonal IUD, is the one that can allow you to still ovulate. But, if you're having a bad time on the pill, don't take it lying down. Go see a doctor, find a better doctor, find a different pill. There's a huge incidence of depression on the pill, and if you feel crap on the pill, then it's not you. That's all I would say. Wish I had a better answer.
That's a great question.
But it is a great question.
Yeah.
Oh, and also, it's not to say that you don't have some embodied body memory of being in those phases and that you don't still experience them on some level. I mean, people who have gone through menopause will say, I still feel that. I still feel an ebb and flow. I still feel when I've got a lot of energy. I still feel when I need, they're riding it, and they don't need the blood anymore to remind them. So, and I think the best thing to do is always to track your own cycle, because then you get to see the patterns, whatever contraception you're on, you get to just know, oh yeah, that happens about that day, or it doesn't. It's just information for you, which is also good if you're going to a doctor and you want to say, yep, this is what's happened over the last 3 months, here's my graph, and they're like, oh, I'll listen to you. Yeah.
Thank you for this wonderful talk.
You're welcome.
We are living in this patriarchy. Everything is based on what is best for men, or sort of the male hormone cycle, which is effectively non-existent. So that means that every day we're expected to go to work and be the same, and be that same sort of stable sort of productivity and emotionally, and we're not. And I was wondering, so I'm actually pretty open about whether or not I have my period when I'm at work as well. I think it's it should be normal.
What sort of workplace do you have?
I'm actually an astrophysicist.
Woo!
And
period-powered astrophysicists.
And I do actually try to work very hard to improve gender equity. And I'm just wondering, are there ways that we could try to bring this idea into the workplace that women have sometimes some points where they're going to be more productive in some areas than others? So it's okay for us to have a week where we are essentially feeling ill. I know that I pushed myself through those weeks, and I don't have the chance to heal, because I've seen your show, and it was an important aspect. And I'll actually say to my husband, I haven't had a chance to heal.
In your workspace to have those conversations, and obviously there are some where there's a lot that needs to happen to have trust and safety so that you can be open. But that's something that I think will become more common. I did a little session at a workplace at an advertising agency, and they then went and made an app called The Cup of Tea. And so everyone who had a cycle in the workplace was on the graph, and you could go onto the website and you could see where, Michelle was and so on. And if you were in the middle, your job, or if you didn't have a cycle, was to go and ask the people that had the period or were premenstrual, have you had a cup of tea today? So that's all they did. It wasn't like, we're going to do all these crazy things. It was just literally, do you need a cup of tea? So it was just that acknowledgement that, hey, I know you're here. That's okay. We're here for you. It's all kumbaya, la la la. And so I think there's lots of little things that can definitely happen. And I've done things like that in workplaces, done, some workplace training around that. Because ultimately, the research shows that if you do put things in place to make people feel honoured and respected as whole people, then they're going to be happier with where they work, and they're going to get a better productivity. And it's not to say that, you're incapable at any point in the cycle, but, when you've got your period, maybe you're more reflective and you do some big sky thinking, and, when you're in week 3, you do more collaborative things, or you bounce ideas, or you solve problems, or, when you're premenstrual, you identify problems or whatever that is. And I had a friend who works in HR at Rio Tinto, and he was like, oh my God, if I could use this, it would be amazing. He was like, I could just see it now. I could put people together. I could support them in different ways. I've got 100 women, like, it would be like fire. And I just think, yeah, why not? Like, surely that's where we're going to head. And, we know we've got to treat the earth better. We've got to look after things better. This is just an extension of that. So I think, yeah, really just, I'll come to your workplace if you like. Or anyone else's. Yep.
Just off the back of that question, can I just get you to talk a little bit about the work that you have been doing with the AFLW? So Lucy's been going in and talking, because sports scientists, it's only quite recent in the last 5 years or something that sports scientists have been looking at how females perform on and off their period and with their cycle, when they should train, when they should be kind of like the best day to go to the Olympics, etc. And it changes a lot from athlete to athlete. But yeah, just how was the response from the AFLW teams that you worked with?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, there are people that are already obviously really in tune with their bodies, and they want an edge, they want to be faster and stronger and to do all the things. And they're obviously in an environment that's been pretty male dominated, where you just, period that just don't, and lots of people, who are high performance athletes don't often menstruate if they're, things are a bit out of balance. But it was great because they, really saw it as an opportunity to just get more out of themselves, really. And now the Eagles do a cycle check-in before every training. So they have they get given a blue and a yellow counter. So blue is like not having a great time, yellow is ace. And then they put it in which phase they're in. So then they know who's where and how they're feeling, and they just get this amazing snapshot of here's 30 people, here's how they're feeling, great. We won't put her with her, we won't put her on for that long, we won't push her, we'll get a personal best from her. And they use it, it's awesome. Yeah.
Tackle me, don't tackle me.
Yeah, don't touch me. Yeah.
Yeah. We had a question at the back. Yay!
Hi there. I'm probably like a lot of women who feel quite irritable and moody around my period, and my husband calls it the red dragon. So I wouldn't mind getting some ideas on how to manage that a little bit better. And I've tried, essential oils, meditating, journaling, all that sort of self-care
Crystal
stuff.
up your nose.
Yeah.
Tried that, yeah. Sorry, do you mean more irritated when you're premenstrual or when you've got your period?
Probably the time before my period and maybe the first couple of days.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a place called, I was just going to explain all the different ways that people name the phases. So Red School have a book called Wild Power that was written by Alexandra Pope and Shani Hugo Wurlitzer, and they use the seasons. So it's winter, spring, summer, autumn. Lara Bryden, she wrote a book called The Period Repair Manual, which is also really good around just helping support yourself. Miranda Gray wrote a book called The Optimised Woman, and she calls the phases reflective, dynamic, expressive, creative. And that was the bit that was really, that is what got me into this work, is because when I was premenstrual, I definitely had a lot of energy, but hadn't yet found a creative outlet or an outlet. And so that had nowhere to go. And so then it would go on someone saying, where are the keys or whatever. And the best way I can describe it is like, you've got this stuff inside of you that is powerful and strong and important. And you've got to find somewhere to put that. Because if you don't, it's like something deep inside of you is like, how dare you waste me on finding someone's keys or their lost sock? Like, I'm for better things. Or, do you know what I mean? So, like, for me, it was, blocking out some time to be creative, and not necessarily for the point of being productive, but spending some time with myself so that I was really honouring myself and doing something creative that made me feel like me. So that could be singing or whatever it is, but I mean, what do you do that you love doing? What's your thing?
My bike.
Riding your bike? Yeah. And does it change? Does the way you ride your bike change throughout the cycle? Or are there times where you're like, it's different, or...
I haven't really noticed, but I'll pay attention.
Yeah, I mean, maybe when you're premenstrual, you know, go on a night ride or go somewhere different, or...
Wear a helmet.
Yeah, definitely wear a helmet. Listen to some music that gets you pumped up, or... Yeah, I don't know, but I think maybe as an experiment, you know, because that's a really cool thing is, you know, you kind of learn your whole cycle, and I feel like it takes about 3 months of journaling to really, like, get a grip on how you change throughout the cycle. But yeah, maybe for a few months just really zero in on that part of the cycle. And I mean, yeah, you said you've tried essential oils and things, but I feel like spending time with yourself and doing something creative, whatever that means to you, so you've used that energy somewhere, and then... Yeah, and then the other thing though is if someone's really giving you the shits then, and if it's happening every month, then maybe like there's something that you could just explore, you know. Maybe he's really annoying. No. No, because I think it's that thing of like, oh, it's just me, but sometimes it's actually not. And it doesn't mean it's terminal, but it's just like, actually there's this thing that's been bothering me. Journal. Write it all down, because then if you come back to that... Am I shouting? I'm shouting, aren't I? If you come back to that, when you've got your period and you're in that more reflective dream state, if it's still giving you the shits then, it's a real thing. And you know for absolute million billion% that that's something, you know, that's not just in your head. Yeah. And then maybe, you know, you want to think about how to deal with it, and then when you're in your... you know, do phase, maybe don't do it then. Maybe in your post-ovulatory phase, you can say, hey, here is my list of things, and what can I do to help you help me? I don't know. Is that helpful?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
This is perhaps a comment and not a question, but I love this idea of the phasing, and I recognise it in my own body, but perhaps I'm really suspicious. I get really nervous that if we start telling workplaces about this thing,
it'll be used against us.
It becomes another way that we're boxed and categorised, and it makes me really nervous.
Yeah.
And I just wonder how we avoid that going forward.
It makes me nervous too. Yeah, it's something that's been weaponised. Hasn't been safe to talk about. You know, I did this show at Nanup Music Festival, which is, you know, like hippie central, and someone said that they heard this older woman behind them saying, "What's she doing telling everyone this?" You know, and she was really angry, you know, and that she didn't feel good about having that on a stage in front of 2,000 people. Yeah. She felt vulnerable, and I really hear that, because it's, I don't know, I guess I'm hopeful that we're at this kind of tipping point where we can just be like, you know what, this is who I am. This is part of who I am, and you get 4 different me's in the month, or, you know, you get all of this. You know, it's not like you don't get that. It's, you're looking at it from a, what do you call it? Like not a lack, but a...
Yeah, it's...
Yes, holistic, yep. But glass half full, the vibe of the thing, yeah.
I guess in order for that to happen, we need to stop valuing youth and fertility.
Yeah.
Like the 2 weeks where we're youthful and fertile,
that's our currency.
And powerful.
Yep. Yeah, and actually that's bullshit, because, you know, that whole idea of becoming your power at menopause and being like, yep, I know how all of those parts of myself work. I don't need to lose blood anymore to remind myself that that's how it works. I've got this. I know how to ride it, and, you know, I'm the boss now. Yeah, that whole thing of menopause not being valued, I think, is really, really important too. And that's kind of like, I don't know, selfishly, where I really hope things happen in the next 8 to 10 years. I'd like to have a good menopause.
Yeah, great question. I feel like has a lot of similarities with mental health. You know, we're told to talk about mental health issues in our workplace, but it can still raise a lot of issues.
I guess it takes people at the top to then, you know, my partner did some work with the P&N Bank, and she's about 55, and she wrote a letter to all of their shareholders and all the people talking about her experience of menopause. I got a thing the other day saying the royal family have just made this, the Countess of Wessex, the patron saint of women's well-being. The first thing she did was say, we need to have more conversations about birth, about periods and the menopause. And, you know, I'm really hopeful that, you know, I know people say we were sort of there in the 70s and we fucked it and then started wearing shoulder pads, but I think like, I feel like our mother, I know I'm in a bubble, but like it's not just me, is it? There's a lot of period stuff going on. Yeah, so I'm really hopeful that we're going to be moving towards that momentum and that generally, you know, a lot of men really want to understand. They want to be part of it. They want to come out of the corner. They want to be like, you know what to say other than you're psycho premenstrual and you're useless and when you got your period, you know? It's like, because they know, you know, they're on that ride with us and we need them to be a part of it. So that's a huge part of it, is having men on board. So, yeah.
Yep, I've got a question at the back there.
I was thinking about asking that question, but what do young boys get told about periods in like school and things, along with the girls getting information about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's sexual health education is pretty patchy in schools. You know, I mean, all the consent stuff is another example of that. It's pretty ad hoc, and it kind of comes down to passionate teachers who really, you know, love this stuff. And there are lots of those people doing amazing things. But I think that's why, yeah, thank you. It's really important that, you know, boys in particular get to know of their mother's whole world and who they are, and that, you know, I was talking to my mother-in-law and her friend, 70, and she said, oh, I wish I had known this. And, you know, my son, he's not very sympathetic to his partner, and I blame myself because I hid it all from him. I thought, oh, it's so sad, because she's not only feeling bad for herself, but for her daughter-in-law and her, you know, it's just... But, like, yeah, whenever you can, to be sharing your own story of what it's like to be a woman, to have a cycle with your son and with the boys in your life. And, you know, my son was saying that he went to Adventure World and they went on the bus and they got there, and then his friend got her period like on the bus, and so it was quite urgent because she's on the bus, you know, bleeding, and then they got there and it was like needed to happen straight away. And so him and the other boy just went around asking people, excuse me, have you got a tampon for my friend? And it wasn't like, Mum, I did this thing, it was really noble and I want you to give me a gold star. It was just like, oh, poor Ava, you know, we had to go and da-da-da-da-da. It was just like, it was normal, you know. So I just think we all just got to be pushing in that direction, and it takes dads and men to be a part of that, you know. You know, having dads be involved in their daughters, you know, that whole part of their life. Lots of dads, I think, used to be a bit more like, oh, that's the mum's thing. It's like, well, if you, be a part of that and help sort of hold that whole thing, it can be better. And that's all I got.
Any other questions? Oh, yeah.
Hi.
Hello.
I was just wondering if you could talk about what you do. You said that you work in schools, and so what you actually do there, you know, if you've had any pushback or resistance to that, you know, if they put parameters around you sometimes, or that might make it difficult.
Yeah, I've been really pleasantly surprised, and again, I just think it's the time that we're in. It's like everything's just kind of culminating and it's all hitting the same spot. And I'm doing some work next term with Perth College where we start with the show, so that the parents see the show, the teachers see the show, the students see the show. Everyone kind of gets this love bomb about how periods aren't the worst thing in the world. And then Sarah and I have been working on an online course for year 7, 8, 9 students. And it's like a 2-month kind of walkthrough of the cycle. Yeah, and then there's like a rite of passage celebration at the end where the parents come, and we're probably going to eat red cake or something. And yeah, and actually there's nothing that they've said. I mean, they've agreed to, I hope I'm not jinxing this by saying it out loud, but they've agreed to give them thermometers so that they can, not for fertility, but so that they can know when they've ovulated. Because I just really want them to fall in love with their body and just understand how it works. And they've been really on board with that, which I kind of think if you're a girls' school, it's a no-brainer, you know. So, and hopefully, you know, we can keep doing that and getting it out to other schools and things, yeah.
Boys' schools.
Boys' schools, yeah. Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Hi. I was just wondering, so I absolutely love this idea because it empowers us to, you know, look at ourselves and take care of ourselves. But when we do need a little bit extra help, who are the practitioners? Who do we go to? Because I know personally, like I've had terrible experiences with GPs and things around my menstrual cycle, and pelvic health and all of those things. So,
is there anyone here who's like a menstrual practitioner who does holistic stuff? Or I just thought it'd be,
Dr. Tamara Hunter, she's at Womb in somewhere in North Perth. But she's a gynecologist and women's health specialist, and she just opened a clinic about 3 months ago. So she's, the person.
Her clinic's called Womb.
Womb, WOOM.
Amazing.
Yeah, so.
The Womb. In my Instagram stories, I've saved a series called Doctors or Practitioners in Perth, and I did a shout out a couple of times and got people to send in things. I know you said you went on social media, but maybe you could just use someone else's account to just take screenshots of that stuff. Because, it's like really important to be sharing that knowledge with each other, and especially, you know, people have endometriosis and average diagnosis 8 years, and you have to go and kiss a whole lot of frogs. Yeah.
And it's a hard thing to kind of find out information about too.
Kiss? How does it... Oh, yeah. It's like Jacinda with ScoMo. Yeah.
Yes.
She's cool.
Any other questions? Yep, great.
Hey, so I wanted to say for all the parents in the room, there are sex educators kind of working towards what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
So you worked for SHQ, so you would have worked with a bunch of Perth sexologists, which I am lucky enough to count like myself as part of. But I actually wanted to ask you, I am hopefully undertaking my first prac in a high school as one of the first sex educator prackies.
Awesome.
How do I bring a little bit of Lucy Peach into the room? Except I don't think I can bring you in. They might not let me.
You could show the TED Talk.
Yeah.
And I think the thing is, it's like that story I told about Ruben coming into the toilet with a tampon. It's kind of not as important what you say, but the feeling that you have when you say it. And, you know, I've gotten into so many Ubers with people in a red sparkly catsuit, and they go, "What are you doing?" And I go, "Oh, well, I'm just off to do this show. It's about menstrual empowerment." And they're like, "Oh, cool." But because I've trained myself to take off every bit of apology and shame and everything, and then they see that as an invitation, and I can see them trying it on and going, "She's being normal. This is kind of weird, but I'll be normal." And we're having conversations about periods, not weird at all. And then it's not, you know. And just to be clear, when I was working in sexual health, I blushed for a whole year. I just was red constantly. Yeah, but it goes away. It goes away, trust me. Well, then just own it. Just you know, and I just think the power that you have to be in that classroom and to just share stories and be open and honest, they're so lucky to have you. And why not? Whatever you, absolutely. Yeah, bring some theatre or bring some celebration or I just think for so long we've only talked about it in terms of managing the problem, you know, and here's how I put the tampon in the water and do you know what I mean? Your job is to fascinate them with their bodies. So figure that out and then tell everyone else. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. You know, and that's really important, to just be comfortable with your own body. And yeah, I remember doing that and showing pictures and gross. And it's talk about that and start where they are. You know, if they think it's gross, well, why do you think that? And you know, how do you think we got to think that? And do you think or whatever, you know, just ask, just keep the conversation going. Just keep asking questions. And then they know it's a safe place to talk to you, and, you know, they'll keep asking questions. Yeah.
Hello. Did you do Had a Period Like a Unicorn. Was that your show?
Yeah.
Because I got assigned to review it for Fringe World. And I
okay.
can remember thinking, because you don't choose what you're going to review. It's given to you. And I thought, I wonder what that's going to be like. Anyway, I just loved it so much. And I have been raving about it ever since. And so many mothers brought their young daughters along, and you had all the fertility rites and the celebration. And when I try and explain that, because I volunteer with women who are older than me, again, really old, you can see them getting tense as if, it's maybe a bit off colour. And I think that is sad, because it was all a bit hush-hush when it was all revealed to me.
Yeah.
And I don't have children, but friends of mine who did, and I knew their children from baby girls. I remember the day that one of them got their period, and she was my hairdresser, and I went to her house and she said, Grace has got a period. And her auntie was there and I was there, and it was also lovely. And Grace was like, she was happy about it. There was nothing negative around it at all. And we were saying, we were just spoiling her and celebrating her. And you did that in the show. And I just thought, this should be school curriculum. This should be taught in schools, celebration of fertility. And I don't know, it's got to change. Because
Do you know, there are people who go, there are people who do this. They run like retrospective rites of passage. Doesn't matter how old you are. If you're like, actually, do you know what? I'd like to have another go at that. I don't care that I'm 57. I want to be celebrated for that happening to me. I want to have a cake. I want to be in the forest in a circle of flowers, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like, I'm actually going to create that. And I just think that's really restorative and amazing.
Why not parties? Why couldn't you have the fertility party or something when the girl gets the period and you go out and dance in the forest? I don't know.
Yep.
You should do that in the office, like when it's your birthday. It's just like, get a cake. On that lovely note, we're going to wind things up. We're going to finish off with a song that we can all participate in. Before that, I just wanted to thank you guys all for coming along. Lucy's going to be at the back signing some of her books, and she can answer more of your questions. I want to thank the WA State Library for Disrupted Festival of Ideas and just putting on events like this so that we can have conversations. It's so, so important. And that they're free, these events, so great. Thanks to anyone that's watching online. Lucy?
Yeah.
You mentioned that you're doing IVF and you want to do a little prayer. Do you want to do that before we do this song?
I don't know.
What do you want to do?
Well, I was just going to...
What do you need? I'm here to give.
I was just thinking, you don't have to, do anything, but, if you've got any special powers...
Yeah.
Then, I'll take them. So when you sing to me or to each other, then I'll be taking that and just stitching it in there. So...
Yeah. Good
thanks.
Vibes. Good vibes. Round of applause, guys, for yourselves, for Lucy, for the State Library. And we're going to do a little song.
I don't know if I should do this before or after the song, but this here... Whoops. This is a QR code, and this is, if you do this, you'll be on the mailing list for the online course. So if you want information about that, then you can do that. So I'll give you 10 seconds to do that if you would like to do that. It's not an attractive slide to leave up while we're singing. And then the song is called Your Blood is Amazing, and I wrote it based on that idea that, we're kind of okay with watching movies with people getting their brains blown out and blood everywhere, but if it's to do with the period, it's disgusting. And just that we're more comfortable with blood that comes from violence. And, you finished with that? So, the song's called Blood is Amazing, and I'll teach you the chorus, and then you can sing it with me and help me get pregnant. Okay. Finish with that? Yeah? Okay. That's my email if you want me to come to your work at Rio Tinto and tell everyone how to be fueled by period power. Yeah, okay, so the song is called Your Blood is Amazing, and this is the lyrics to the chorus. So I'm going to sing a line, and then you can sing it back to me, and then we'll learn it, and then I'll sing it and you can sing with me. Cool? Okay. So, your blood is amazing. Your blood is amazing. Your blood is amazing. Your body divine. Your body divine. You can start again. You can start again. Every time. Every time. It's amazing, the moon by your side. It's amazing, the moon by your side. You can start again. You can start again. Okay, now, really, like from here. That was good. Now, dial it up. You've got to make me feel something. Your blood is amazing, your body divine. Your blood is you can start again every time. You can start again every time. It's amazing, the moon by your side. It's amazing, the moon by your side. You can start again. You can start again. Okay, you got it? Great. I'll leave them up there. Yeah. Okay. How can it be that nobody told me what was written into my bones? Maybe I've always known for far too long. The treasure has been untold. Worse, it's been told wrong. What we've always known. What we've always known. Your blood is amazing, your body divine. You can start again every time. It's amazing, the moon by your side. You can start again. And so much is spilled, so many killed, and we turn and look away. This blood, this body, it's all I have. It's the only way I can atone for this madness. It's mother love and sadness. Your blood is amazing, your body divine. Your blood is amazing, your body divine. You can start again every time. It's amazing, the moon by your side. You can start again. It's amazing, your body divine. You can start again every time. It's amazing, the moon by your side. You can start again. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you. And thank you. And thank you to the library. And if you are a guy and you don't have periods, I'd like you to put your hand up. And on the count of 3, we're going to say, we bloody love you. 1, 2, 3. We bloody love you! Because we can't do this without you, and you're so welcome here. And then the final thing that I want to say is to anyone who has become their power and who no longer needs their blood to remind them, can you put your hand up? And on the count of 3, we're going to say, now keep your hand up so you can get the love bomb. On the count of 3, we're going to say, we honour you and appreciate you. 1, 2, 3. We honour you and appreciate you. Okay.